Today, I want to talk a little bit about what I call the male advantage and why at 30 years old, this is when we as men are just getting started. Life starts, in my opinion, at 30 years old. It's almost like there's a switch that gets flipped. You know, in your 20s, you're going to be probably like me, a hot mess. Financially, you're trying to figure it out. Me, I was a disaster. Me, I was partying too much. I wasn't where I needed or wanted to be. Professionally, financially, I was dating the wrong people. I was sleeping around. I was experimenting with things I shouldn't be experimenting, and I was drinking way too much. But at 30 years old, boom, everything started to change. Now, is it a coincidence? Actually, no. Data and scientific research supports why my life and your life really is going to get better and scale exponentially at the age of 30 as opposed to women. At 30 years old, a woman, if she's not married, if she's not like where she wants to be, she starts to freak out a little bit because looks start to fade, right? Looks are a depreciating asset. When she's 20 years old, when she's 22, 23, 24, 25, boom, life is her oyster. She's getting lots of attention because she's as beautiful as she's gonna be, right? Her body is probably banging, but then by the age of 30, her looks start to fade. Not saying she's like a beast or anything, but she starts to get more insecure and she is ultra aware of the fact that her time is running out in terms of her biological clock. And then she looks in the mirror and she's like, oh my God, I'm starting to not look as good as I used to. My wrinkles are starting to come in. My boobies aren't as perky. My booty is starting to fall, right? She starts freaking out, but you, oh man, as a dude, we're just getting started. We're getting better looking. We're making more money. We're getting sexier. Our confidence through the roof. Today, gentlemen, I'm going over why your life isn't even starting before the age of 30. Number one is earning potential. Your money, right? The Benjamins, you start making them. At 30 years old, this is when your prime earning potential just starts. The Bureau of Labor and Statistics show that men basically see an increase in their pay and salary 60% between the ages of 30 and 40, as opposed to women that see a pay plateau at about the age of 32. Number two is you're more attractive in your 30s, starting in your 30s. And then when you hit 40, you actually get more attractive. And then once you get closer to 50, if you still have like your hair and a decent body, guys, like next level, like you are a sexy dude. All right, here's the reality. When you're in your 20s, you're still a little bit awkward, right? You're growing into your features a little bit. You might have some acne. Your hairstyle isn't as good as it could be, and your style isn't that great. You're working out, but it's not really paying the dividends that it will when you hit your 30s, right? 30 years old, it's like this magic number. Like I said, your body starts to respond. You get better muscles. You look more manly and masculine. You start to grow into your body and your features, and your face gets more defined. Not to mention your facial hair a lot of times will get thicker. A lot of times when we're in our 20s, we're a little bit patchy, we're a little bit like sparse, but 30s, that's when things start to fill in. You start to fill out and you look amazing. And then when you hit 40, if you've done the things you need to do in terms of stay working out, eat right, dress well, keep your hair, have good skin, do skincare and all the things you need to do, 40s, it's like to that next level again. Women find men in their late 30s, early 40s as the most attractive. There were a bunch of studies that showed women, dudes at different ages, and they statistically consistently said guys that are in their late 30s, early 40s were viewed as the most attractive. Women, it's like 22, like literally 22 years old is like max, and then things start to fall, sag, and wrinkle up a little bit. Not saying that they're unattractive, but their beauty and their looks do tend to fade with age, as opposed to men, we age like fine wine. We get better, sexier, more amazing. Number three is your confidence. You're more comfortable in your own skin. And that's something that I personally noticed, all right? When I was in my 20s, I was still wildly insecure. I wasn't real confident in myself. I also had a bunch of like failures. I also still had not dealt with the things that I needed to deal with in terms of my past. But when I hit like 30 years old and I went to therapy and I started to see and string some successes together, like that's when like I just felt good about myself. Guys, therapy is something that I feel every single person can benefit from because I know what it did for me. All right, up until when I was basically like in my 30s, I was struggling with a lot of the issues that happened to me when I was younger. I was also carrying a lot of the pain and the baggage to like relationships. And unfortunately, because I never dealt with them, it was self-sabotaging these relationships. But because I decided that I wanted to be healthy and happy, I went to therapy, I dealt with my issues, I got new tools that I didn't have before, and I also got a third-party perspective. And when this happened, everything in my life, like I said, got better. I ended up meeting my wife, and I think it was directly correlated to the fact that I was finally open and ready to meet somebody that was amazing, and I stopped self-sabotaging. Guys, if you're ready to take control of your future, your happiness, and basically the rest of your life, I want you to hit that link down below and check out BetterHelp. They are today's video sponsor. If you go through my link, betterhelp.com/alpha-m, you're gonna answer a few questions. Getting started is super simple and super fast, right? You answer a few questions and then you're gonna be matched with a therapist, usually within a few days. And then you're gonna be able to have your therapy any way that's most convenient for you, whether or not it's your phone, your computer, any way that's convenient for you. And the thing that I love so much about BetterHelp is that they allow you to change therapists at no additional cost. Therapy is a lot like dating, all right, at least from my experience. Sometimes, boom, the first therapist you meet, it's magic. But sometimes you just don't really connect with them. And if that happens, instead of thinking, oh, therapy's not for me, it really probably is just that therapist isn't right for you. And so they allow you to change therapists at no additional cost. The other thing I love about BetterHelp is that they do an amazing job making sure that all of their therapists are well qualified. And they've got a badass customer support team that is always there to help and answer any questions. Guys, I've got a special link down below. If you're ready to do something amazing for yourself and your future, I want you to hit it. It's betterhelp.com/alpha-m. That's betterhelp.com/alpha-m. If you go through my special personal link, you're going to get 10% off your first month of therapy. Gentlemen, do not wait, because much like life starts at 30, it also starts when you deal with your shit. The next reason why life begins at 30 for dudes is that dating gets so much easier. When you're in your 20s, you're chasing, right? And a lot of these women that you're finding attractive that are also in their 20s, they're not interested in you. They're interested in the dudes that are like 30 and above, because women are like hardwired to want a dude that is successful, that is responsible, that's secure. And it doesn't start when you're in your 20s. They are chasing you when you're in your 30s, which makes it awesome. You literally will have your pick of the spiciest of senoritas. The next reason is peak leadership and influence. In your 30s, that's when you start to become more influential in your career. A lot of the young noobs that are starting, right, you're now a little bit senior to them. The other reality is that a lot of these companies and CEOs are looking for basically people to promote that are in their 30s. And so if you are a 6-foot white dude, congratulations. Your chance of accelerated growth is amazing. Now, for those of you who aren't a 6-foot white dude, you still have an edge over the young people that are coming in. All right, and you also have an edge over women. I'm not saying that it's fair, but statistics are showing that women a lot of times see career stagnation or slowdown in their 30s. Men, it's just accelerating, and I'm not just talking about money, I'm talking about advancement and growth. And then around the age of 50, it starts to slow down for us dudes, right? You've got to stay sharp, you've got to stay educated, you also need to make sure you are dressing properly. Because if you expect to advance in whatever career or be taken seriously, you've got to dress well. The next reason life gets better at 30 is you're not sweating the small stuff like you did when you were younger, right? When you're young, a lot of things get you weird, but as you age, as you get a little bit more mature, emotionally, you're just a little bit more in control. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. When you're young, like I said, you worry about stupid, insignificant shit, but once you hit about 30, you start to realize that a lot of the things you worried about when you were younger just doesn't matter. Less pressure to look young and beautiful. Not saying that you don't look young and beautiful, but women feel a tremendous amount of pressure, which is sad, honestly, because the reality is that if you just take care of yourself, you don't smoke, you don't do drugs, you don't drink too much, you work out, you exercise, you eat healthy, you take care of your skin, you're gonna look good. Good for your age anyway. But with society telling women they need to look like these 22-year-old women, it unfortunately leads them to do some things that I feel is detrimental. Right? There's this obsession with looking young, this obsession with plastic surgery, this obsession with not aging. A man, we don't feel that same pressure. The other reality is that as we start to get older, even though we are aging, the pressure isn't there for us to look like we're 22, because honestly, we don't want to look like we are 22. You still should have a good body. You should still have good skin. If you want to keep your hair, you need to do what you need to do in order to keep it. But the pressure is not the same. The pressure at 30 and beyond is internal as opposed to external. Women a lot of times feel that external pressure, which unfortunately is going to perpetuate for the rest of their life. The last reason why life begins at 30 is your confidence starts to climb. When you're in your 20s, you're super insecure. When you're in your teens, you're even more wildly insecure. But at around 30 years old, all these things start to come into play, start to get better, and you start to feel better about yourself. You also don't stress out or worry about a lot of the things that you worried about when you were younger. But I can tell you from experience, 30 was amazing, 40 was even better. And I'm actually looking forward to turning 50. It doesn't scare me like it used to. When I hit 30 years old, I was scared, honestly. It was a hard birthday for me because I wasn't where I wanted to be. I had no clue where my life was going to go or the opportunities that were going to present themselves or the direction I was going to take. But the beautiful thing is that with age comes wisdom. Now, looking back, I can say, wow, like that was incredible. But you've got to understand that we as men have an advantage over women. Stop thinking that it's over at 25. It's not. You're not even getting started. You're not even scratching the surface. At 30, for men, this is when it starts.